afternoon, Kurt Capra here with your daily recap for this final Friday of April 28th. And as we look forward into next month, May, market certainly, it was certainly a quiet month overall, but finished with a bang as we had that big move up over the course of this week, which really is what it was all about. That's what it ultimately came down to in terms of performance for the month. And so we can take a look here real quick at the weekly of the S&P. And I mean, really a good close here. You can see we've got this this trend line, or this descending trend line that we broke above. So that's a positive occurrence. That's a positive event that should lead to price moving higher. We've mentioned this 240 level as being the sticking point. And so as we go back to the daily, you can see we've been holding up right underneath that here for the last couple days and really just absorbing the supply. So overall, it's a really good sign, as I said, and I'll be looking for follow through here next week to get above this 240 level. So that's something I'll be watching for. Now, also, one of the things you're going to hear a lot about in all likelihood is any developments with regard to the second round of the French elections, that it's going to be coming up next week on Sunday. So a week from Sunday, we'll have that second round, and we'll see what happens as far as that goes. There have been some reports that Le Pen's gaining a little bit more ground, and so we'll see if that plays into the dynamics here, and just take it a day at a time, see how it goes. But as I said, ultimately, after the nice move up the beginning of the week, we've just been consolidating up here really well. So going to be looking for follow through to that next week. Also with the Qs, they just continue to outperform, stair-stepping higher. They put in new highs here today as well, closing bullish up for the day. And again, like I said, they just continue to look really, really good. And we'll see if they don't pull in a bit next week, but overall, really constructive pattern there. And then you've got the Russell, which went from being one of the strongest going into today to actually turning into the weakest. As you can see, it took a pretty good hit here, but in the grand scheme of everything, all it did was pull back into this gap fill between Monday and Tuesday of this week. It filled that gap and then some a little bit, but it's right into support. So wouldn't be surprised if we get this to turn around on either Monday or Tuesday of next week and have no follow through to this red candle. So definitely keep an eye out for that, because even looking at the weekly chart here, you can see, yes, we've got this topping tail, but ultimately it broke out above, again here, this descending trend line, which is a very positive event. And so we'll look for it to follow through. Now, on the flip side, if it fails and breaks down through 134, that could open the door to a very significant move lower. So either way, we're going to have our eyes open, as we always do, but for right now, wouldn't really be looking for much of a further decline in IWM. Just looking at some various sectors though before we wrap things up for the week. You got IBB, which has been holding up really well here over the last couple days here, gapped up sideways, so it looks like it's getting ready to follow through higher next week. Definitely keep an eye on this one. Got the financials, which a little bit weak here today. Overall, most of them put in some range bound inside days, narrow range days. So we'll see how they respond next week. And again, the French election may play a part in how they behave. So that'll be something to pay attention to. But overall, they're working on trying to turn higher. So this could be the first higher low area, right? If we start to move higher next week, this could be our higher low followed by a higher high as this trend begins to try and work its way higher. So we'll see how that plays out. And also worth noting, we're right into and around the 8 and 21 day moving average. So this is also going to act as some support. So we'll keep an eye on that. As far as energy, right? Energy looks like it should continue moving lower. Mentioned that in the morning call. Got a bit of a gap up this morning, but it sold back off. So overall staying weak. Don't really see much of a difference in terms of today's action to change that bias. So we'll look for this to continue moving lower. And then also gold, GLD. Pretty quiet day overall, closing higher and looks to be setting up for a push up next week, maybe even going back to retest that 122 to 122.50 area, possibly even a little bit higher than there. So that'll be one to have on the radar as well. And then just to finish it off here, Amazon and Google, we'll take a look at these. Also can take a look at QCOM as well, which had some pretty good action today. So Amazon, gap up after the earnings, spent the day pulling back in, which doesn't come as a complete surprise given the size of the gap. But this should start to find some demand here as we move into next week, because it's right on top of this breakout area. So that'll be something to watch for. Then you got Google, which gapped up also. Mentioned, I would have thought that this might pull back in some more, but I still believe that overall. I mean, the gap up here is somewhat climactic, as I indicated in the morning call this morning. So we'll see if it doesn't continue to pull back in over the next couple days for the beginning part of next week. And then QCOM. All right, QCOM gap down, but bullied that gap, closing really well on the day as it, held that $51 area, also in the area of that prior low. So there was some nice action there. So while overall the market was kind of quiet, with earnings coming out, it made for a pretty active session overall. So hope you guys did well today. Hope you guys had a great week. Either way, come back fresh on Monday, new month as well. Clean slate, and we'll do it all again. All right, so as I said, hope you guys all had a great week. Have an even better weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.